And with that, I will pass it over to you, Jennifer.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. Ricky will be pulling up slides to share on this side. And if you have any questions and I miss a raised hand, don't feel free to unmute yourself. And because when I'm presenting, sometimes I'll miss that. So thank you to Ricky for sharing this screen here. So for introduction, my name is Jennifer Chong. I am Dene Tsutlane from Cold Lake First Nations, and as you can guess by my last name, I am also half Chinese. So that's a little bit about myself. Welcome to this morning's session about Indigenous Services Canada. Indigenous Services Canada is the name of the session that you're in right now. To begin, I'm going to express my gratitude to work and reside in the unceded Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nation territories. I want to give a great big thank you to NOTSMAT for organizing the CCP workshop with a team of Indigenous advisors that are comprised of CCP mentors. So thank you to the CCP mentors who have been a part of making this workshop happen. And I want to extend a really heartfelt, warm thank you to Ricky for tech support and to Jackie, who will be taking the notes today. Also, my colleague Chris Cardinal is not in this workshop, but he was also a co-organizer for this workshop. So those want to start this session off by extending my gratitude. So this morning, we're going to be sharing a broad overview about Indigenous Services Canada in general, and then we're going to focus in on community development in the BC region. Following this presentation, there will be a 15-minute question and answer session. Next slide, please. Indigenous Services Canada, or ISC, is a federal government department formerly known as Indian and Northern Affairs Canada, or INAC. The department is now two entities: Crown Indigenous and Northern Affairs Canada, which focuses primarily on policy development and treaty negotiations between the federal government and Indigenous peoples in Canada. Indigenous Services Canada works collaboratively with partners to improve access to high-quality services for First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. I'm going to share a link in the chat, which is the Indigenous Services Canada website. Oh, I don't think that link worked, but we'll work on getting you that website posted in the chat. Next slide, please. Thank you. Indigenous Services Canada has a vision statement to support and empower Indigenous peoples to independently deliver services and address the socioeconomic conditions in their communities. Indigenous Services Canada offices in British Columbia are located in downtown Vancouver in the Cole Harbour neighborhood of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh traditional territories. I'm going to describe the image that you see on the slide. At the bottom, you can see the rising of the Indigenous communities with the shape of the bird with the wings in the yellow. And then moving over towards the other side of the graphic, it's going into a deeper blue. And that is a representation of the sunsetting of Indigenous Services Canada. And the rising of Indigenous communities as Indigenous Services Canada slowly begins to transfer over services completely into Indigenous communities. Next slide, please. What you're looking at here is a graphic, a picture with representation of British Columbia region key priorities. I'm just going to read the slide here because the print is a little bit small and it may be small depending on your screen. So at the heart of the feather is advancing reconciliation, which means delivering services in a way that honors the spirit of reconciliation. And there's 3 points beneath that feather. The first one says service excellence. Indigenous Services Canada in the BC region is committed to providing timely, transparent, and client-focused services through holistic, community-based approach that responds to the needs of Indigenous people. Point number 2 there is strengthening relationships. Engaging and partnering with Indigenous communities and organizations, the province and other stakeholders to support Indigenous peoples in the delivery of services that will improve their social and economic well-being. And the third point in that feather, organizational transformation. To create a healthy and respectful workplace that promotes leadership, innovation, reinforces wellness, and supports employees in their efforts to better reflect Indigenous views and aspirations in the delivery of programs and services. Next slide, please. Okay, this graphic is really quite busy, but it provides an overview of the organizational or hierarchical structure at Indigenous Services Canada. As you can see at the top there, the Senior Associate Deputy Minister is the regional operations that provides oversight for regional operations at Indigenous Services Canada in general. And then in the big square graphic in the middle is the Office of the Regional Director General. And Allison provided opening remarks for us as we began the CCP workshop yesterday morning. I'm also wanting to let you know, I'm not going to go through every single square, but to let you reference the fact that I provided this graphic in a handout that is posted in Slack. So please do take a moment to reference Slack when you have time. I also posted Indigenous Services Canada's website in the chat, so I hope that works for you, and you can click on there to find out more specific information about Indigenous Services Canada. Also, I just want to highlight for you in the bottom graphics, there are 7 directorates: Child and Family Services, Community Development, Community Infrastructure, Corporate Services, Funding Services, Land and Economic Development, Programs and Partnerships. The rest of this session that I'm going to be sharing about is going to focus on community development. That's the directorate I'm a part of, and I work with community initiatives. Next slide, please. What we're looking at here are 4 pillars of community development. First pillar is actively supporting community-led planning. Point number 2 is champion nation-to-nation learning and capacity building. Pillar number 3 is to build and strengthen collaboration with and integration within and across government departments. Pillar number 4, strengthen government's cultural awareness and competency to support meaningful community development. In the next couple of slides, I'm going to be sharing detailed reports, specific information about how we achieve these 4 pillars. Next slide, please. Thanks, Ricky, you're doing a great job. So the first pillar, actively supporting community-led planning. This is exactly where comprehensive community planning sits in one of our 4 pillars. Indigenous Services Canada in the BC region is comprised of a team within the Community Development Directorate, specifically to support communities who are interested in beginning their comprehensive community planning. We also support the comprehensive community planning workshop that you're a part of now. Over the past 17 years, it's been a thrill to see how this has evolved, and I hope that to see you again at future workshops. The next point is a community-led planning pilot that was just wrapped up. It was for 2 years, and we had a number of communities taking participating in this pilot to look at what is it within community-led planning that can be shared not only internally amongst First Nations community, but also with other nearby neighboring communities. And that was what the planning pilot was about. Another point here is the Professional Institutional Development Fund, which I hope many of your communities have had the opportunity to participate in, to receive proposals, support, or funding opportunities to develop professional and institutional capacity within your nation. Next slide, please. So the second pillar of community development within the British Columbia region is championing nation-to-nation learning and capacity building. One of the things that we enjoy doing is providing mentors to communities. So if you're brand new to comprehensive community planning, or if you're somebody who has already completed the plan and has just been so excited by it that you want to share your experience, you can contact either NOPSMOD or Indigenous Services Canada, and we'll connect you with a mentorship opportunity. So it's nations can ask for this to partner with other communities. Another nation-to-nation learning and capacity building initiative that we look at and that we support is Our Gathering. Our Gathering happens once a year, and it's an in-person opportunity for Indigenous Services Canada to connect with communities. We invite all First Nations from across British Columbia to attend, and the ministers from Indigenous Services Canada also attend, and also representatives from other supportive organizations. And we hope that you're also enjoying the Competency Community Planning Workshop today for capacity building purposes. Next slide, please. Okay, the third pillar that we, build and strengthen collaboration and integration within and across government departments. We know that we don't operate within a vacuum, and so we're thrilled to be able to partner with communities to offer integrated community support plans. So what this looks like is a nation will connect with the Community Development Directorate and request opportunities to develop networking opportunities and funding relationships across not only Indigenous Services Canada programs and opportunities, but we also look at connecting with, for example, First Nations Health or NOPSMOD or First Nations Public Service Secretariat to offer opportunities to collaborate, to work on a project with a community. Another way that we look to at supporting pillar number 3 is with the Indigenous Interests and Issues Committee, which is part of the British Columbia Federal Council, or BCFC. And it's representative of approximately 43 federal departments, agencies, and organizations who are responsible for programs and activities in BC to provide a mechanism for whole of government coordination, and Indigenous Services Canada is a part of that. I'm going to provide another link just for you to have a look at another way for you to connect with across government departments. So I'm posting in the chat right now, and you can have a look at this initiative through First Nations Public Service Secretariat and their the work that they've been doing over the past year with Indigenous, the IIIC, the Indigenous Interests and Issues Committee, through BCFC. So I hope you find that reference useful. Next slide, please. We're at point number 4, pillar number 4. So pillar number 4 is strengthen government's cultural awareness and competency to support meaningful community development. And Internally, the Community Development Directorate takes the lead on what's called the Indigenous Community Development Workshop. And what this is a 3 half days, just like the Competency Community Planning Workshop is, where federal public servants, such as myself, will undertake a facilitator role to educate and share opportunities of learning how Indigenous communities, the history of residential schools, how policies have shaped and negatively impacted Indigenous communities across Canada. And we look at meaningful ways to develop reconciliation within Indigenous Services Canada and also with our partners. And the Indigenous Community Development Workshop is also facilitated by local Indigenous elders who it's just thrilling to be able to have that opportunity and that space to ask questions and to really connect as an opportunity to grow together as a department. We also have what's called lunch and learns internally. So if the First Nation community has an initiative that they are really excited about and they want to share, we provide opportunities for lunch and learns, and we have featured nations who have completed comprehensive community plans in the past. We also, in the past before COVID, we were thrilled to be able to do community visits and to visit nations who have had questions or have needed additional support or just wanted to share success stories. So those are the 4 pillars of community development is a broad overview. And the next slide, please. Okay, and I'm going to drop some documents in the chat, specifically related to what I just talked about. So the first one is called Indigenous ISC Program References, and you can see its emails and contact information for the different directorates that I mentioned before. And I'm also going to drop a document that talks about how we support comprehensive community planning in communities. I'm going to now end this portion of this workshop and open it up to question and answers. So Ricky, yeah, you can pause that. So I hope that information was useful, and I'm available if you have questions, or if you want to visit a slide again for further follow-up. If there are no questions, then I warmly invite you to visit other sessions that are going on. Oh, CC on open doors. I welcome if you have any questions.
Just want to say thank you. It was a great summary, and I appreciate the explanation and the resources that you shared with us. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lisa. No problem. Again, a warm thank you for attending, Eliza, and you're welcome. And yeah, for sure, you're welcome to check out those resources. I hope you find them useful. And if you are interested in checking out the other sessions taking place right now, no problem. And I'll see you as the days go by in the workshop. Thank you so much for joining.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending. If you'd like to go back to the main plenary room, or if you'd like to visit another breakout room and session, if you wiggle your mouse around on your screen, you'll see a small blue button, leave room. And if you click into that, you'll leave this current breakout room and you'll go to the main plenary.